You could have heard this episode 48 hours early on our Patreon, patreon.com/indieheadspodcast. By joining us for as low as $1 a month, you will see episodes early and gain access to our Discord server. All of our upcoming episodes will be up on our Patreon 48 hours before it hits our public podcast feeds. But if you're hearing this via our Patreon feed, we thank you so much for your support. We especially want to thank our Real Ones patrons, including Becca Etienne, Georgia Mikowski, James Boss, Holiday Kirk, Tyler, Marcy Anime, Chance Bushelli, Dana Lady Miller, Rihanna Cruz, Josiah Duncan, Jenna LaFleur, Matt Cameron, Grant in the Back of My Dracula, Pablo Escobar's Hippos, Jackson Christ, Alec Felder, Jeremy Bull, White Dogs Y, Matthew Taylor, Breen Hare, Drew Wharton, I Like Books, Jonathan David, Max Kapazinski, Mark Barry, Darian Fisher, Cal 50, Noah's Refused Pimped Out Dave Matthews Event, Chris Wade, Jacqueline Cottiga, Midwest Maxwell, Kevin John, Jake Wald, Eraser Eye Baby, Rob Marino, Max, Dylan, Sandy Nemo, Zach, Kevin 490 Freak, and Maze Farms. To become a real one, consider supporting us for $5 a month on Patreon. We'll receive a bonus episode every month, get a shout out at the top of the pod. Anyways, though, enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Indieheads podcast, our first episode of 2023. And we are here to talk about some records from Q4 2022. Of course, we just did our Album of the Year specials and our podcast awards, but there was a lot of great records in Q4 that we did not get a chance to fully dive into, or at least kind of half dive into towards like the back half of the year. So, hey, we're doing that now. Of course, I am joined by Jackie, and we are joined by two special guests. Returning to the podcast, we got Taylor Grimes from Swim Into the Sound. Welcome back to the pod, Taylor.
Hello, everybody.
And joining us for the first time, we have Grace Robins-Somerville, great writer, Twitter personality that we've all been friends with a long time. Again, this should have happened a long ass time ago. Welcome to the pod, Grace.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, everyone in this room, this is the first time we've all been together since Pitchfork Music Festival 2022 in July. In Chicago, the beautiful city of Chicago, Illinois, the weekend
Speaking
that
of which,
it rained much.
I had the thought recently that we're gonna get the Pitchfork lineup pretty soon, and I'm very curious.
Probably next month or so.
I'm really curious to see who's on that, because I feel like it could either be like a little bit of a letdown, or like it's gonna be a really big banger, like no in between. Like,
I feel like it's gonna be a good one.
I think it's know. There's so many people either touring off of what they just did, or about to do something, that I think it's going to be pretty stacked. There's going to be a lot of people that want to play, and so I think they're not going to struggle to put together a lineup.
Grace and I have actually
no matter what
predictions.
Yeah, we've talked about this. Actually,
I think Feeble Little Horse are going to play, and they're going to be really good. I think that's a prediction I have. Yeah. I don't know who else.
I was thinking them or Wednesday.
Wednesday's
put bets on Wednesday.
I think
Wednesday's
Wednesday,
an easy bet.
Unless they
MJ in some capacity.
Do you think they would do MJ and Wednesday on
I don't
separate
think that's crazy.
days?
I think it's entirely possible Wednesday and MJ are both on the lineup.
Yeah.
That will give me that.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised there's not been like an MJ Wednesday tour, but I feel like that might be just like too much.
I would love
like
to
too
see,
much for either artist.
This is kind of a little pie in the sky. It would definitely be like early in the day blue stage. I would love to see Greet Death because they have an album. They'll probably have an album coming out next year. Is the thing. So hopefully they could push something there, but that would be less likely. But like, there's a lot of good potential like big artists that are good. I mean, like Caroline Polachek feels very, very possible.
Oh yeah,
like a headliner, I could see that.
Or like
but nevertheless, here we are. Q4 2022.
My brain just I can't help myself when I start thinking that.
We're all excited. Yeah,
very excited.
We love playing some
maybe
game
some
theory.
of these artists who put out albums in Q4 will be at Pitchfork 20.
Exactly.
Excellent segue.
It's entirely possible.
There we go.
But yeah, I would say this is one of the busiest quarter fours in a long time. I would say. I feel like last year, like. There's definitely again a lot of big releases and a lot of smaller stuff that just really hit me, like stuff that fucked up my album of the year list a little bit. I would say like there's definitely a couple records here where I'm like, fuck, I really gotta reconsider my list or move some stuff around.
The last thing I added onto my list, which I'm finally in the process of getting ready to put out. But I was like almost done, and then I had one album completely fuck up my list, and then be like, okay, this is the last one because just no more. I can't do any more damage to it. Like So, but we'll get into that shortly. We're gonna start with lightning round as we change our format around because, and I really need to say this every time because if I don't, like, we do this every time. If you say it and then we do it, it's the John Mulaney birthday sketch. We go 20 minutes on the first thing, and then we do the big ass B on the birthday sign, and then it's like, oh fuck, now we have to do 20 albums really quick. So instead of putting like the biggest topics of discussion first, like the stuff we're gonna want to talk about for longer. We're going to start with the lightning round, which are basically all the albums that are just sort of like one person on the cast is recommending these. Although some of us, I think, have listened to some of these other ones. They can pop in real quick with just like what they think about it. But Maddie, why don't you start us off and walk us through your lightning round?
Yes. So there's two categories here. There is the good stuff, and then there is the torture chamber. But the good stuff. Let's start with the good stuff. Enumclaw, Save the Baby. Again, this is a really good Seattle indie rock kind of grunge project. If you like Sonic Youth, you like Seattle grunge, give this a listen. It's very, very good. Again, this is a very scrappy underdog band. I'm surprised they didn't have a bigger year this year. Maybe just because they released so late in the year. I mean, same label that put out the Mag Bay record last year that did fucking gangbusters. So, not sure why this wasn't bigger, but this is a really good record. I really enjoy it. Planetary Clients, Enumclaw also. That's how I discovered this band. So there's your transparency, is that I worked on this record a little bit. But I did not work on this next record, the new Disq album, Desperately Imagining Someplace Quiet. I loved this band's debut record in 2020. I thought it was great. The band that got completely screwed by the pandemic, putting out a record in early March before shit really went down. But thankfully, it didn't really stop them too much. I think this album, in most ways, honestly, might be better than the debut. There's definitely much more of a songwriting presence from two of the newer members that only had just kind of joined the band when they started recording their first record for Saddle Creek. Saddle Creek, we discussed this on the Omnier Pod. Saddle Creek, label the fucking year. Put out like a ton of bangers this year, including this record. If you like your sort of like traditional kind of Pavement-esque indie rock through the lens of Gen Z, give this one a go. It's full of some excellent songs. Some of my favorite songs the entire year. Every time I listen to this record, there's always a new one that's like, okay, no, this is my new favorite. So great record, tons to dive into. A band that also put out a record at the beginning of the pandemic that kind of got screwed by the pandemic. Sorry, their follow-up record to their first one, 9 to 5, the record Anywhere But Here. It's a little bit of a disappointment compared to the last record, but this is some very good UK kind of indie pop, indie rock stuff. Key to the City is one of the best songs this year, maybe the best song Sorry has ever made. I went through a breakup this year. I broke up with a longtime partner this year, and Key to the City was definitely a song that was speaking to me a lot in this tough year. This is a band that we saw live. Me and Jackie saw live earlier this year, open for a band that we'll be talking about a little bit later on in the show. Alms, Did I Ask? This is a really solid indie rock EP from an LA band. Really solid. Really dig this. The bassist of the band, well, actually, I think the main guy in the band, he looks like if you put Flea into the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Creative Skater, and you turned up the tallness, you just made him taller. That's what the main guy in this band looks like.
Tall Flea very often.
Yes, I was literally talking to someone that was like subbing in for the band, and I was like, hey, the guy, he looks like Flea, right? And he's like, yeah, we literally call him Tall Flea. So there we go. Speaking of more EPs, this new Jobber EP, Hell in a Cell. If you saw my Love for Album review, it's a power pop EP about professional wrestling. It's fucking sick. I'm not gonna get into pro wrestling stuff because holy shit, this has already been a crazy fucking year for pro wrestling. 2023, literally so much has happened in just 1 week, just between New Japan, AEW, fucking Vince McMahon, Succession shit. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
No, it's
crazy fucking year. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. It's crazy fucking year. More APs. This new Ganser EP, Nothing You Do Matters. Great Chicago post-punk band. This is a sick EP produced by Angus from Liars. It's very good. It is a 2-song EP plus a remix. Very good stuff. Very excited for what this band does next. Double Virgo, Eros in the Bunker. This is a band that I believe either were or on. They're a part of the band Bar Italia, which is on Dean Blunt's label. So if you like Dean Blunt, you should check out this EP. So this is the two guys that are in Bar Italia.
Gotcha.
No Nina, who I think is the girl in the band.
Gotcha.
And then finally for the good stuff, this new record from Dumb, Pray for Tomorrow. Really sick Toronto band that we're working at Planetary Group right now on the radio front. If you like early Parquet Courts, this literally sounds exactly like Parquet Courts. We have a running bit in the Planetary office right now where you have to guess if this is a Dumb song or an early Planetary Court or an early Parquet Courts song. But again, we're not going to get early Parquet Court shit anytime soon. So hey, this is pretty damn good. But now on to the torture chamber of records. All these records I didn't like, but for very different reasons. The first which this is very sad to say. I'm actually really bummed that I have to put this band on my shit list for the time being. This new Palm album, Nicks and Grazes. This is the one Saddle Creek miss this year for me, especially considering that this band put out my album of the year in 2018. But this new record, Nicks and Grazes, it's not good, folks. It's not good. What made their early stuff work, especially on Rock Island, is that they kind of had these sort of weird song ideas and sort of weird ways about writing pop songs, or just kind of writing songs and putting, sort of weird instrumental choices where, they made their guitar sound like steel drums. But it still felt like there was structure to their music. I really feel like, okay, they have all these weird ideas, but they're in a pop song structure, so they really work and they really are able to kind of push the boundaries of pop songs because of the weirdness. What if you got rid of those structures and you just had all these weird ideas that don't go anywhere? Anytime it's a record that feels simultaneously extremely derivative of their previous work, but when they try to kind of deviate from that, it's just their worst ideas yet. So there's no winning with this record. It's a huge disappointment. I saw them live recently and hoping that maybe the songs would sound better then. Nope, they sound worse. Maybe sour on the record even more. Huge disappointment.
Damn.
Really did not like this record. It's very sad. Maybe I'll come around to it in a year or so, but
Maddie,
I doubt it.
I just realized that you forgot something from your torture chamber, because I was like, wait, did that come out this quarter? You didn't put the Macula Dog album in your chamber corner.
Oh, fuck. That did come out this quarter. Oh, fucking... Oh, I did forget that one. Okay, worst. Okay, I thought I talked about it on a podcast already. I guess not. Late edition to the torture chamber
review. That's what it was.
I did. Well, the love review, I didn't say anything for that one, and rightfully so. Macula Dog.
Didn't
Orange
they like
2,
it? Didn't Macula Dog like your low effort?
They did. They did like the tweet. They did. So they did watch it. Orange 2. So I have 3 least favorite albums of the year, all for different reasons. Of course, we've already gone in depth on BCNR. We've talked about Kendrick, but Orange 2 is the worst album this year in terms just objectively bad. It is. We gotta nuke New York City. New York City needs another 9/11 is what I'm saying, everybody.
I will say I respect the one thing I respect about this band is that like there are a lot of bands that will be like intentionally bad and like try to sell you that they're musical geniuses. At least Macula Dog and the press are like, yeah, we don't know how to play our instruments. Like they're very candid about it in a way that I'm just respect. Like, no. I'm just like, you know what? Like you're not pulling a gimmick. You're just like, hey, we're gonna do something silly and fun, and
right.
I hope you like it.
I mean, the press release.
This album cover. This is bizarre.
It sounds like what the album cover looks like. It is a good album cover. It is like the most intentionally like RYM bait, just like trying to be as kind of like experimental in kind of a vague way as possible, and just like really fucked up songs. Just songs that sound like dog shit, like on purpose, kind of, but also
exactly like the press release is literally like, we thought, we put together this record, we thought it was like, our most accessible kind of record yet, and then they listen to like, wow, this sucks. We did not do anything we tried to accomplish on this. So I have to respect it to some degree, but it is the worst album I've heard this year.
It's not like they're just having a fun time, and so it's not. I'm not meaning to compare it to Animal Collective because they're way more musically talented, but it's how I feel about Animal Collective, where it's like, this does not work for me. But if people are enjoying this, if people are genuinely enjoying the Macula Dog record, let them have it. Like everyone needs something.
Yeah,
doesn't bother me.
But continue on the torture chamber. Continue the torture chamber.
These are
this is one that I put on this record. I put on because I had to force. Again, it was just like I was curious, but I never got a chance to listen to it. I'm like, you know what? I have to force myself to give this record a go, and that is the new record Rom-Com from Jakey, aka Nakey Jakey, a popular YouTuber who usually does sort of like kind of unique video game kind of reviews and retrospectives in a very unique, singular way. He's been kind of trying to go for a music career for some time now, kind of starting and stopping, but finally put out a record this year. And this is the dog shit white boy raps record full of some of the most groan worthy samples I've heard this year. This dude just does not have a good rap voice. He's too fucking white. He's just too white to pull this shit off.
Hoodie
or at least
Allen
he cannot
disease.
break down the barrier. He cannot break down the barriers that the Beastie Boys been able to break down, or Eminem, or Pendant. He's just not been able to break past that barrier where he's still.
Gene. He doesn't have it.
He does not have the. He wants it so bad. He wants it so fucking bad, but he has not been through enough shit in his life to really go and be a crazy ass white boy. Again, I like his videos, and I made this joke in our group chat. Of course, everyone knows my famous song "No Crush," the rap song that I made when I was 14 years old. This album sounds like, what if I continued to what if I wanted to continue doing music after No Crush? This is the record that I would make. It's bad. It's really bad, folks. It's fucking dog shit. Bad record. I still like his videos, but maybe don't do the music stuff, man. You just do it again. I'm not going to say, hey, stop, because if you want to do it, you want to do it, but it's not good, folks. It's not good.
Joji has been the consequences of Joji have been a disaster on the human race in terms
really,
of
honestly,
people thinking that they can make that pivot.
Yeah, that really is it. Again,
I'm trying to think who the best.
Here's the thing. To be fair, it is like crazy.
Like internet person turned musician is
Rebecca Black.
I mean, I like some. I like
that. She was always.
I like some Joji songs
always musician,
in
but
like a
that was
very,
what she was famous for
in
initially.
a very like sometimes the mid is hitting kind of way. Like none of them are special or good, but like some of them will be like enjoyable enough.
But speaking of YouTubers turned musicians, this is another one of those. Quadeca, I Didn't Mean to Haunt You. Of course, this is a record that's doing very well with the Rate Your Music crowd. I think it was in their top 25 for the year. You know who else likes this record a lot? Black Country New Road fans, and this is. I know. I'm going.
Split. You guys are.
Matty, this is going quite a while. This is not exactly a lightning round, but I'm.
Yeah, I know.
I'm about to get it turned around. Usually you're the one.
You're the one. It's my turn. It's my turn.
That's why I'm reminding you, because it's usually me.
I know. This is the last one. This is kind of similar to the Jakey record of sort of like white boy raps. I listened to this. I felt nothing. It was just weird. I think I was halfway through listening to it, and then like a lo-fi Danny Brown verse came on. I'm like, what the fuck is Danny Brown doing here? What? And it was the high point of the record, because Danny Brown is an incredible rapper, an incredible personality, and this guy does not have any of that. Does not have the swag. Does not have the personality. Has no charisma. This sucked. I didn't like it. We got to do something about Rate Your Music users. We got to.
That's the thing we can all get behind, regardless of our feelings on Black Country New Road.
Yes.
No offense to Cal 50 always with that sentiment, but he's the only.
Cal 50 is the one good Rate Your Music user. He's the one good one. The only one. But that's it. That's all I got. That's my lightning round corner. Jackie, what do you got?
All right. So first of all, I just want to say that I told Matty this before the podcast. It's very funny because when I recorded the Q2 episode long ago, I believe this is exactly correct. We were doing the Q2 episode right at the time I was in the middle of writing my Ethel Cain profile. So as you could imagine, like, I was not exactly locked into the music I was talking about that episode, and a similar thing is happening today, where I was supposed to listen to all these albums and then listen to Nicole Dollenganger like 6 times. But I love all of these and spent a lot of time with them recently, so I can talk about all of them, starting with the first one, which is the album that fucked up my album of the year list. It's the new Trembler album. If you follow me on the internet, if you're friends with me, I've probably annoyed you about this album in the last 2 weeks. This is a band called Trembler. They are from Houston. They were a band I had like my eye on. Like, I had listened to their first record earlier this year when I did this sort of deep dive into the Houston scene, which is like one of the biggest and most active shoegaze scenes in the country, especially in Houston. And as I got into, I checked them out, and they were cool because they were a little more emo influenced than a lot of the other shoegaze acts of the region that were more on the kind of grunge side of things. And so I was like, oh, this is cool. I like this. But like wasn't like blown away by it or anything. And then a couple weeks ago, I saw that they had a new album out. I was like, oh my god, let me check this out. Immediately, like, huge fucking level up. Like, crazy. Yeah. Like, I was like, whoa, this is really, really, really good. And especially the song Hiding, which is the third song on the record, like, blew me away. I listened to it, no joke, like 30 times over my 2 weeks off work because I was listening to music off of my time working in music professionally because I'm a psycho. But and I love this album so much. It's just really, really, really great. I think like the two vocalists are both really great and they harmonize really well together. Like similar to Fleshwater, the girl is like the main attraction, but the guy in the band like pulls his weight a lot more than the Fleshwater guy does. And I think that they have just a really, really, really great dynamic. I cannot wait to see this band live. I'm seeing them next month with Pale Fade, another Texas band that I really like, and they have a split coming out soon. It's going to be really good. But anyways, next up on the list, another shoegaze thing. This is from North Carolina, though, I think is where she's originally from, but now she's in California, I think. Absinthe Father, which is a project. I had heard the name before, I think, but I went back and checked out her earlier stuff, and her earlier stuff is like shoegaze, grouper, lo-fi, singer-songwriter-y stuff. It's kind of we have grouper at home, but like that's a lot of stuff, you know, like. But this new record is really different. It's like a lot cleaner, bigger, louder, hookier, and really, really embraces her love of pop country is like the big pivot that she makes on this record. And boy, is it a good pivot because this record is just like night and day different from all the other stuff I've heard from her and is like one of my favorite records of the year. The joke I made on Twitter that she then shared because she said it was very accurate was that it sounds like the Chicks if they were produced by Midwife. Really great. just like so easy to listen to and catchy, and like the last song on the record, Ender, is just like a perfect catchy hooky indie rock song, but also has these like sadder country songs that remind me of like the more country leading stuff on the Ethel Cain record and stuff like that. So good. Love this so much. Just like a great surprise at the end of the year. Really enjoyed it. Isabella Lovestory, and more hardcore. I love this album. All year I was like, surely Rosalia will have the horniest reggaeton album of the year. And Isabella Lovestory said, not so fast. This album is so unsubtle and ridiculous and over the top in all of the best ways. It's so much fun. I love it very, very, very much. The Fever Haze, An Apple on the Tallest Branch. This was another late in the year real treat for me, an underrated record that I've been singing the praises of. This is the project of Jackie from Greet Death. She's the bassist of Greet Death, and she has released music under a couple different projects, but this is a band of hers that she's a part of that is alt-country leaning, similar to the kind of alt-country leaning stuff on the new Greet Death EP, but more in the kind of less fuzzy, more in the kind of Wilco, but still like kind of dreamy heartland rock. Like it feels of a piece with Greet Death while not feeling as explicitly like shoegazy and heavy, but it's also all filtered through Jackie's songwriting voice, which is very different from the Greet Death songs, but really, really incredible. I love this record so much. It's just like a gorgeous front to back listen, a really great driving record, has so many great songs on it. I really love Warm Glow as a single, but a lot of my favorite songs are the non-singles on the record, like A Picture of Breakfast right into Oh Woe Is Me. The last two tracks are both fantastic. The opening track is fantastic. It's really sweet, and also I'm legally required to stan another trans Jackie, so that's just like, what can I do there, you know? Daniel Avery, Ultra Truth. Daniel Avery just become just a real like rock solid, like he puts out a record and it's good, and I have very uncomplicated feelings about it artist, which is nice. It's nice to have those where it's just like, there's a new one of these, cool, I'll listen to it and enjoy it. Very good ambient techno stuff. It's in the direction of his last record, but even a little more focused than the last one. I really, really like this one. I think it's great. The new Ulla record. This is the new record from the ambient musician Ulla Strauss. I love, love, love her record Tumbling Toward a Wall. It's one of my favorite ambient records like ever at this point. And so I'm always going to check out a new Ulla thing. And I think this is her best record since Tumbling Toward a Wall. It's really cool. It's very like very glitchy, very not kind of ambient that you can sort of settle into because it's constantly shifting and changing and sort of stuttering, but it also has like a warm tone to it that's very different. I've described it as like OPN R+7, but if it was giving you a hug instead, it's like very like cozy, and there's a lot of these like warm guitars, but like none of the melodic loops are very like repetitive. Like she loves doing these loops that are very kind of fractured and some hovering somewhere between ambient and active listening, and it's just a really cool record. I really recommend people check it out. Winter, What Kind of Blue Are You? This is just a really fucking good like dream pop shoegaze pop record. It's just kind of like the platonic ideal of what I think like dream pop should sound like. So good. Write It Out is like a fucking great song. The collabs with Sasami and Hachi are really good. If you like the first Sasami record, if that's like indie rock, if you like what that sounds like and that's indie rock that you enjoy, this Winter record is like a no-brainer. I pretty much guarantee you'll like it. The Smut album is a similar sort of thing where it's like not one of the most like exciting records I've heard this year, but just sounds really damn pretty, and sometimes that's fine. It's very much in a sort of 90s indie rock. Like if you like the Sundays, if you like stuff that's kind of jangly, bookish indie rock, but like I recently found out that Joe Dummy really likes this band, and that immediately made sense to me. But I also think they're a little better than Dummy. Like, I think this band is cool. I like them. They're from Chicago. This is apparently different than their other stuff. I've been meaning to go back and check through the rest of their stuff. But like, if you're really into like Belly and the Sundays and that kind of jangly early 90s sort of pop rock sound, indie rock, singer-songwriter type stuff, you're gonna like the Smut album. It's called How the Light Felt. Greg Freeman, I Looked Out. This is another one I think a lot of people would like.
This is a good one.
This is like if you take MJ Lenderman, turn the shoegaze down 25% and turn the country up like 25%. Right. He sounds even more like Jason Molina, and also it's really, really, really good. I like this record quite a bit. It's also similar to the Friendship record from this year. If people who liked that, you will probably like this Greg Freeman record. Came out kind of late in the year. Didn't see it get a lot of love, but it's a record that I'm not always a person that loves all country stuff, and so when something like this clicks for me, I'm always like, oh yeah, this is something good. I like this more than the Friendship album a little bit, even though I do like that album. This is very good stuff. Long Distance Driver especially is a great song. Soft Blue Shimmer, Love Lives in the Body. This is another one where like I can't be objective about this because this is a band doing slow dive worship that's from Los Angeles, California. So like of course I enjoy this, but it's just a very solid shoegaze record. The second song, I have to pull it up and forget the name of it because I just listened to this recently. But the second song on this record is very, very, very good. And it's like very consistently solid throughout. And then has a couple of moments like the song Prism of Feeling is the one I'm thinking of that like excel above just being kind of solid. Really, really great record. And then my last one, Blessed Circuitous. Hopefully by the time this thing comes out, I will have put out my album of the year lists and stuff. But so this Blessed record, I got into this very late in the year. And basically this is one of several records this year that is in a category I've described as does the smile better than the smile, in that this gives me my Radiohead adjacent fix better than I'm very disappointed by the smile, and I've kind of been on the record about that. I think it's like the first truly inessential Tom York record where like it has some good songs on it. It's not like it's bad. Like it's definitely one of the more competently made things I heard this year by a wide margin, but like it's the first Radiohead record that like I don't see myself ever going back to for a particular reason. Whereas this Blessed record is really, really great. And just like the number one thing I have to tell people about this record, anyone I recommend it to, the album artwork is so bad. I promise you it doesn't sound like that. I promise you it does not sound the way this album artwork makes it look like it sounds. Like I don't know if anyone remembers the animated movie Meet the Robinsons, but like there's that sad kid. There's the little sad kid in Meet the Robinsons who just has those like sunken eyes, and that's what this little robot boy looks like on the cover of this record. But this is like art rock that you just can't save art rock bands from themselves, you know? Like they're gonna do some dumb shit like this, but it's okay because if you like Radiohead, if you like the couple of Muse songs that are good, you will you will like this Blessed album a lot. I think it's really the song Person especially sounds like Radioheady Afghan Wigs. Like there's just some cool stuff going on in this record, and I think a lot of indie rock fans would just like this. It's very, very impressive without being up its own ass musically. The cover art I cannot defend, but hey, you know what? It's pretty good. That's it. All right, that's the end of my run of albums.
All right, Taylor.
Okay.
Taylor section entitled "Taylor's Emo Bullshit" as we have in our Google Doc.
My emo bullshit, which is like half as long as your guys' lists, because the core album list covers a lot. Yeah. But I have to be on brand. The first one, which I'm surprised you guys didn't have, the Wild Pink album. I love this record. I think that I've been on the Wild Pink train for a few albums now, and this one is very up my alley because it's just the most like spacey and inward and like I don't know. I think that I love the Heartland rock stuff, but really love. There's just a couple like really heavy shoegazy songs on here. A lot of great guest features, and I think it's just like a very beautiful album. The story behind it's really cool, like mortifying, because it's essentially an album about.
Honestly, it's really cool that this guy got cancer and made an album about it.
That's not the cool part, Matty, but it is cool that it's kind of like just a meditation on that. And I'm a sucker for like a very morbid album, and I think that it has a very touching, like it ends on a very beautiful note, I would say, for how heavy the subject matter is. So I really like that one. It's called I Love You So Much, or ILYSM, but I refuse to read the letters out every time. So next, Pinkshift, Love Me Forever. I think a lot of us are probably familiar with Pinkshift. They blew up over quarantine, kind of. They had put out like a few singles, and the second or third one, I'm Gonna Tell My Therapist on You, blew up, and I think it was just like got picked up by every music publication, and was kind of like they're really interesting. They're very like Paramore-y in terms of like kind of sassy lead vocals with like really good like power chord, hard driving punk instrumental, and but also hit that weird spot where it's kind of like not TikTok-y therapy language, but like it's tapping into something that I think like, but they do it really well. It's not corny or I don't know. I think a lot of that stuff can tip really quickly into just like that's too much. But the album is great. Like that EP was really solid, and then they took enough time and put together a really awesome collection of songs that I feel like builds on that really well and hangs together really great. Incredible debut. After that, Dazy, Out of Body, which I think is technically his debut album.
Yes,
he blew up last year. He put out just a ton of like singles and EPs and splits, and then put a compilation together that I had on repeat for a long time. It was like 24 songs, but just a lot of really crazy hooks revolving around like simple words. Just like the lead single on this one was Roller Coaster Ride, and when that dropped, I think I listened to that like 30 times too, just like on repeat, just the single over and over again. And it's just really loud, really cranked distortion, like incredible hooks over and over again. Love that one. And
I know friend of the show Luke is really into this record too.
Yes, well, it's all Luke like one
Phillips.
Guy.
Also, Pressure Cooker, really good song. It's on this record, but Pressure Cooker with Military Gun, great song.
Yes,
so good. Song of the summer.
Grace's song of the summer. And I think I agree. Really catchy. The whole album's great. Okay. The most emo thing I have on my list probably is Arm's Length, the debut album. Never Before Seen, Never Again Found. This is a Canadian band, and they are super, I don't know, very like traditional emo, like revival-y kind of stuff. You can hear a lot of like Hotelier and Citizen and some like Jimmy Eat World, where it's a lot of a lot of really good, just competent emo. Like lots of like songs that build up to screams and yells, but lots of good tappy shit. This is a band that I recently found out is being like repped on TikTok, and I spent like 10 minutes today, and it's all dudes in like modern baseball shirts and girls with scene haircuts that are like, this band is good, you should go listen to them. So take that for what it's worth. The kids are loving it. I'm digging it quite a bit. I've listened to this album.
Speaking of Mobo, I did see Slaughter Beach Dog last night with Mo Tripper opening. Really good. Again, Mo Tripper was great, of course. And Slaughter Beach Dog, our friend Jaden, our friend and coworker Jaden, me and Jackie's coworker, said that after the most over eager fans he's ever seen at a show, and for the 4 or 5 songs I was there for, yes, that is true.
For most doing too much fans.
I mean, ever since Acolyte kind of blew up on TikTok, it's kind of been downhill from there.
Yeah, I mean, again, the Mobo devotees and then TikTok, it's a stew that's just it's a nasty stew. But hey, if it got Mo Tripper more fans, hey, I'll take it.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Jakey Walt, he deserves it. He's been on the grind for like decades. You know what I mean? Like as
exactly.
As a modern baseball
no
fan,
ill will to Jakey Walt. No ill will to him. Just stating the facts. Just the fans are wild and out.
Okay. All right. And the very last one on my list is Funeral Home's Blue Heaven. This is a record off of my label of the year, Lonely Ghost. I think that this is a gorgeous record. It's like a really spellbinding shoegaze album that has a pretty like infectious energy. Like it starts off with a really slow number and has this like the second song kind of just gets into this rhythm and this groove that carries it through the whole thing. And I've been returning to this one a lot too, and this is one of my favorite shoegaze albums of the year. There are a couple others coming up later on that kind of beat it out, but I thought this was awesome. I haven't seen enough people talking about this one, and I fully endorse Funeral Home's Train. Everyone hop on now because it's going.
I have not heard of this, and that's saying something for me. So I will definitely check this out. This sounds
for
good.
sure. Hard.
I liked Lonely Ghost put out the Sheen record, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And other great albums this year.
They had a banner year, I'd say, and good people running it. So yeah, that's my emo bullshit, everybody.
Oh yeah.
All right, Grace, what do you got for us?
So the first one I wanted to talk about was the new Gladie record, Don't Know What You're In Until You're Out, which
we could have put this on the main topic discussions, honestly. I love this record so fucking much.
It's so good. It was like, I think number 11 when I initially did my end of the year list, but I think it has moved into the top 10 as I've listened to it more. Sorry, Camp Cope.
Damn.
But it's kind of a pseudo super group. It's fronted by Augusta Koch from Cayetana and also Pat from Spirit of the Beehive and Dennis from Tiger's Jar, both in it. And it's funny, this is going to be like the second Jake Ewald mention of the pod. But I feel like the Cayetana to Gladie trajectory is very similar to the Mobo to Slaughter Beach Dog one, where it's like, this is the project where the songwriting is more refined and it's more mature, but it doesn't get less fun or less interesting or less dynamic. Like the catchiness and the strength of that are still there, but you can hear the songwriter growing up with it. And it's like, I don't know, it's reflective, but not like in a too moody, bogged down way. Like it still feels very fun, even when dealing with heavier topics. Also, she's just like so good at writing really short, simple, yet potent lines, and then just like configuring these really catchy melodies around them. So yeah, Gladie record, so good. The next one I want to talk about was the Namdi record, Please Have a Seat. He's put out like a whole string of really solid albums in the past couple of years, but I feel like this is the one where he really came into his own. He's also a great live performer. I saw him open for Black Midi last spring, and that was so much fun. And it's just his use of vocal effects is so creative and like really enhances his natural range rather than like flattening it or dumbing it down. And just like it's experimental in every sense of the word. There's like a song where the drums kind of sound like faraway fireworks. There's a song where the backing vocals sound like halfway between a gospel choir and like pop punk gang vocals. You know, he's singing these crazy high falsettos. He's rapping. He's doing everything. It's fucking great. Second Grade, easy listening. Really good power pop record. It gets a lot of comparisons to the Motropa record from this year, understandably so. It's very much like the thing it reminded me not in terms of content, but in terms of kind of approach, weirdly enough, was the Mama record. I feel like in the way that the Mama record is like self-aware about its nostalgia for the 90s, this record is that, but for like power pop bands of the 60s and 70s. So it's very like tongue-in-cheek and snarky and like, but surprisingly heartfelt. And I think it does the like satirical yet warm songwriting in a really thoughtful way. Kramer in LA is hilarious. So is Teenage Overpopulation. It's very self-referential, but not like overly so, and it doesn't entirely rely on its influences. Also, the Military Gun record, All Roads Lead to the Gun, All Roads Lead to the Gun Deluxe, is I think their first official full length, follow up to like a bunch of solid EPs. Also, band that's half responsible for the Dazy song, Pressure Cooker, damn it. That's the one. Just like really upbeat and danceable hardcore. I want to take a moment to shout out Ariel Gordon for coining the term male girlies and Keegan for popularizing it.
When
this
Keegan,
is the quintessential
the
male
best
girly
thing was,
band.
Keegan replied and said, "Thank you for inventing the term male girlies." And Ariel Gordon says, "I only invented it, brother. You lived it." Which is just perfect. Yes, and this is Military Gun is the male girly band, 100%.
Yes, Ian Shelton is the male girly, and you know what?
Himbo hardcore.
They toured with.
It's great.
Oh yeah, they toured with Fiddlehead last year. I think they're opening for White Reaper soon. So yeah, stocks are up. That Military Gun record, and it's also under half an hour, which is great. It's such an easy, fun listen. This one's not as easy or fun, but still great. The Backwash record from this year, His Happiness Shall Come First, Even Though We Are Suffering. And it's the final installment in that trilogy of albums that she did, but I feel like it hasn't gotten as much coverage as the other two did. But it's, you know, it's definitely on par with that. And she's like always just such a creative and innovative producer and rapper. The bars are like so fucking hard on this. The way she uses samples is just like on another level. Like she has this Mozart sample that just like completely falls apart, and like a Malcolm X speech at the beginning of one of the songs that has this like beat drop that sounds like shattering glass. Like it's so fucking good. Just amazing like one-liners. I flew the fuck up off the handle like all good women should. Like that shit's so hard. I think there's like one song, I think it's Malunga, where the beat, when it comes in, it sounds like, I can only describe it as like someone is performing an exorcism inside a batting cage. It's insane. But yeah, just another great record from her. Shannon Moser, Sun Still Seems to Move. Lamo Records has had a great fucking year. Also, I'm realizing now that like half of these picks are Philly artists, but this.
And it's again been a great year for Philly, truly, for music. So hey, what can you do?
Shouts out Philly, yeah. This one's like just such a pretty record. I feel like it's kind of filling, or as coming as close to filling the Joanna Newsom shaped hole in my life, because we all know she's not going to drop for like another 10 years. And it's just like, it'll be really delicate, kind of sparse folk arrangements that will just gradually swell into something really grandiose, but it never feels like overkill. And it's just like so studied and so intricate. Just gorgeous record all around. And then the last one I wanted to talk about was Sam Gendel's record Blue Blue, which I like don't feel smart enough to talk about jazz, but I'll do my best. It reminds me a lot of the ambient jazz of like Hiroshi Yoshimura and Yes and I found out when I was doing some more reading about it that each of the tracks are named after Japanese sewing patterns, and the music is meant to like imitate certain textures and like patterns of stitching, which I feel like is easy to be tempted to roll your eyes at that and be like, oh, it's fucking pretentious. But it's just so beautiful and so like mellow and minimalistic. And I've just been like listening to that on repeat. Really love it. So yeah, those are my picks.
I've been meaning to check that out because I liked the Sam Gendel, Sam Wilkes album that came out a few years ago, Music for Saxophone and Bass Guitar. That's a really, really nice ambient jazz record. So yeah, I should give that a shot. Also, yeah, the Gladie record.
Yeah, it's lovely.
So fucking good. As someone who doesn't always like, it's not that I don't like stuff like that, but this is not like my bread and butter musically. And I was just like, someone finally decided to make one of these albums where all of the songs are good. None of the songs are bad. She remembered to make all of them good, especially Hit the Ground Running, which is like one of my favorite songs of the year. The hook of that song and the vocal performance from Augusta on it is just out of this world good.
Oh, that album is just like jam-packed with hooks. Like Born Yesterday and Nothing.
Yeah, basically
just, like,
from Born Yesterday onward, the album just like doesn't ever falter from there. It just like starts with like a kind of easy.
You mean from the second song? And the first one is less than a minute.
Yeah, it eases you into it, then immediately it's just like, all right, we're just gonna hit you with like great hook after great hook for a solid 30-40 minutes. And then even like when the what's the song where the other guy takes over for a song? Is it Smoking?
I know the one, but I forgot the name.
I think it's Smoking, I want to say. But like even then, like it was perfect because like I didn't miss Augusta while she was gone, but then when she comes back, you're like, yes, nice. Like, it's like everything about this. There's nothing that feels like filler. It's very, very, very well done. Yeah, great record. Also, I like that it's like, when I first heard it, I originally thought like, oh, is this like a breakup record? And when I learned the story that this is an album about like sobriety mainly, I love that because I immediately understood it a lot more. But also it's like, it's written in such a way that if you're not someone that's dealing with that specific thing, it's not written in a really didactic way where it like, it really communicates just like why being alive can be kind of shitty, and then filters that through her specific experience. But like there's a lot of different ways into this record.
I feel like Born Yesterday is just like such a great lead single because it's so indicative of that whole album's ethos of just like, oh my god, being a person is so intense. I'm feeling everything, and I'm just bursting at the seams. I don't know what to do. And it's Fixer is the song where the other guy takes over.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Anyways, great album. Love that album. All right, let's get into our main topics. We got a lot of good fucking albums that were bigger deals that all of us listened to pretty much. I think I've listened to most of these. And let's start off with some shoegaze. Probably besides the Trembler album, which came out of fucking nowhere, this is probably my favorite shoegaze album of the year. Definitely my favorite, like more straight up kind of. Yeah. But also, it's not quite so straight up because it is very innovative. Of course, we're talking about Tagabo, They Are Gutting a Body of Water, Lucky Styles, their newest album,
AKA S.
AKA S, which
AKA S.
Just one of Douglas's many, just his mind, him being like, we're gatekeeping the album title. I'm just like, I love your brain.
They are gatekeeping a body of water.
they're gaslight, gatekeep girl bossing a body of water. Indeed. I think we mentioned this on the end of the year episode, but best band name of the year, best puns. Like I didn't get into this band until this year, as many people. Like I got into the first album this year and was like, wow, this is really, really, especially getting into like the EP splits and like the stuff that they did with like Casper McFadden and stuff like that, the jungle stuff, I was like, whoa, this is like really, really different and cool. And so I was looking out for this band, and then of course they put out the split with Country Western right before this. It's really awesome as well, and so the hype levels were increasing more there. And then this is like, I think, the best thing that they've done. We're gonna talk about the Knife Play record in a second, but it's like such a perfect complement to the Knife Play record in every way, because it's so short and punchy and hooky, and like just showing the two opposite ends of the spectrum of like what you can do with shoegaze, like as opposed to making things more atmospheric, more drawn out, more like langorious. Like it's just these really like condensed, like especially songs like 23 to Infinity. It's just like barely even 2 minutes. It's just like, we're gonna start the song and immediately hit you with the sickest riff you've ever heard, and just like immediately we're right into it, like no messing around. But then like some songs like Behind the Waterfall have these really cool, like almost trippy progressions to them, and it's just like a really creative and forward-thinking record that's also really loose and fun and just like propulsive.
Behind the Waterfall specifically, like the first time I heard it, it just sounds like an N64 game. Like it just sounds like a weird, like,
you're either
Donkey
with the
Kong
Donkey, exactly. Yeah. You're either with the Donkey Kong vibes, or you're just like not. Exactly. And I love the way that they use synthesizers, especially. Like there are so many. It reminds me a little bit of the new Tanuki-chan stuff, which Douglas, I've talked with Douglas Tag about. He also stands Tanuki-chan, which makes sense. It's like these almost chintzy kind of synth lines that work so well with the shoegaze, because it's like there's something about the kind of brightness of those synths that really lets them puncture through. Whereas usually if you're layering synths underneath shoegaze guitars, it just feels like another layer of just like atmosphere, whereas those melodies always have like an extra little thing to an extra little dimension to the songs that I think is really helpful, and you hear on a lot of the tracks on this record, like Almond Break and stuff like that.
Yeah, this is a sick record. This was the year that I understood shoegaze, as we've mentioned.
Let's go
on the pod before. This record was again in my top 10 for the year. Just an incredible creative, rock record that I think one of the sadder things is that like, this is a great record, it's still my top 10, but like hearing shit like the Brazil off the Country Western split, you're like, man, this record is full of sicko shit, but it's like, man, they can really go sicko
Matty,
shit.
You're gonna get what
even
you want
further,
because Douglas is tweeting about how like shoegaze is boring and how he wants to make a rap mixtape. Like you're gonna get what you want.
Wait, he did that. He did a rap EP. I need to listen to the EP still.
I listened to the first song he dropped and it was pretty good. But like Matty, I'm telling you that you don't have to worry about Douglas like being just a shoegaze band. He's gonna give you the freako shit.
Of course not. I mean, again, this is just a sick record that from a band that's awesome. I mean, my story with this band is that like I think I heard the split and I was like, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
And then two of my coworkers were like, hey, we're gonna go see him tonight. I'm like, fuck it, I'll go tonight. And that it clicked. I was like, okay, like I'm all in on this band. Like, so if you get the chance to see them live, go see them live because they're fucking incredible live. Like, if you've been on the fence about them, seeing them live will make you go, okay, like I'm in on this band. So just incredibly sick record. Again, Webmaster, Violence 2, just like fucking incredible, punchy, noisy songs that are just I mean, incredible. Again, band to watch. Put your stocks in this band.
My favorite besides 23 to Infinity is Delta P. I love Delta P in the way that one builds.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, that's my favorite cut too.
I would be very surprised if there is like not a bidding war for this band right now amongst like some of the indie labels. Like I'd be shocked.
I think what is going to be interesting is like seeing what the fuck they do next, because like you guys just said, like there's all these splits and weird collabs, and like shoegaze is a genre that just gets like tired really quickly, kind of. And so it seems like whatever they do next is not going to be like this, which is kind of cool. Like I'd rather this just be its own thing and like a self-contained album that kind of like works on its own for forever, and whatever they do next can be better or worse or whatever. But I really like this record and think it like holds together really nicely. But yeah, I'm curious what the fuck is going to happen in 2023. They're very prolific. Like they keep putting out shit. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they'll definitely hit us with like a total curveball.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, I could see them touring with Wednesday again.
Yeah, Wednesday keeps tweeting about it.
I would like to see that, or with Feeble Little Horse, or just any of those bands. I would like to see some of those, or maybe a Pitchfork Fest next year, perhaps. We'll see. Also, speaking of which, there's going to be a new Hotline TNT album this year. I'm so excited for that.
So excited. I saw them with Feeble Little Horse on New Year's. I was
jealous of that.
Both, they were both so fucking good. And Allegra from Mama was playing bass in Hotline TNT that night.
Star-studded.
But yeah, real who's who lineup. But both of those bands, really excited for what they do in 2023.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's move on to our next record, the new Carly Rae Jepsen album, The Loneliest Time. Talk about a 180 here. It's another fine pop record from Carly Rae Jepsen. I feel like in some ways Emotion was kind of lightning in a bottle, where I feel like that record was sort of everyone kind of had low expectations going in, being like, oh, Carly Rae Jepsen, and then when it exceeded them, people were like, holy shit. And now she's just sort of at this like kind of stable solid of like, hey, she's gonna just be consistently putting out solid mainstream, or not mainstream, again, solid pop records in the veins of I mean, I will say, the title track. I mean, the title track is doing numbers on TikTok, mind you.
Oh wow! Okay.
Because what's it called? It's also weird because it popped off on TikTok not for the hook or it's the little like interlude.
The talk singing part.
Like, I'm coming back to you, baby.
Back for you.
That is immediately became a TikTok thing. Like people made it into a
thing. And good for her.
Which is honestly, that's my main takeaway with this record, is that like I was very bored by the last Carly record. Like I didn't do a lot for me, and so I wasn't really looking out for this one. And similarly, this one like didn't stay in my rotation really. However, I think that song and Beach House also, which I think some people really don't like. I like
Beach House. It's good.
Beach House is fine. I feel like it's kind of a less fun rehashing of Let's Be Friends, which wasn't on any
I just think in general, I'm in favor of her going trashier and not trying to be like the thinking person's pop star. Like I really liked that Beach House was like willing to be a little silly and in on the joke with itself, in the same way that like the Rufus Wainwright song is a little like campy, and it's like she should lean into being like someone that gay people love and just make kind of cringy whatever, like just over. She should go more Lady Gaga with it and less Lord Solar Power with it, is how I feel about this album.
I feel like I did think that like when I was listening to Joshua Tree and Western Wind, I was like, oh, this is what Solar Power would have sounded like if it was good. But yeah, I feel like
that was my reaction to Western Wind too. But also, it was like at first I was like, "Wow, this is like Solar Power but good." But then I'm like, "Wait, do I even want that? Not really."
But it's also like record. I feel like post Emotion, I've kind of just regarded her as like she's a singles artist or like an individual songs artist, because some of the non-singles are really good too, rather than an albums artist. Like, I don't know. I think there's a couple just like classic Carly bangers on this record. But as a whole, I'm like, I don't love it the way I did Emotion. It's probably on the same level as Dedicated for me. I mean, I don't know. I think I was also revisiting it around the same time that I was listening to the Taylor Swift record, and I was like, yeah, like this is better, but am I just comparing it to the Taylor Swift record and saying, oh, this is good? Because it literally came out the same day, I think. And just saying, like, did Taylor just set the bar really low?
We'll get there.
I do think this record, I was expecting this record to kind of be a flop going into it, and it did better than I expected, partly because of that effect. For like the people for whom, which cough cough, like Rolling Stone writers, pop music is like the sun in the universe. Like Carly is always gonna stand out for those people because she's just got a higher level of craft than a lot of like mainstream pop songwriters. But then also like I don't think she I think it's probably, you're right, that she's like probably just more of a singles artist than an album artist, and like we shouldn't expect emotion to be the norm. She just kind of lightning in a bottle. Like there are just so many songs on that record that are just so memorable, and we've never had a Carly like EP or album before since that. We've never had a Carly record that doesn't have at least one great song on it, but we've also never had anything again that gets close to the hit rate of emotion.
That's what.
And I agree about like she should let herself go for it more.
Because we're so
like,
past
Carly's allowed to be horny on main.
Like, so much of the Carly thing was all tied up in the whole poptimism thing and the whole idea of like I don't usually like stuff like this, but it's actually really tastefully done, and like she should not cater to that audience that'll lead her to boring music land. Like I think she should be willing to make something that's like not tasteful and not like trying to win the favor of Pitchfork, and just trying to be like fun and silly. I think that's the right lane for her going forward.
Yeah, we mentioned Taylor. Do we just want to bump that one up real quick?
Sure,
just get that one out of the way. The Taylor record.
Say about it.
I re-listened today, and I have some thoughts.
Go ahead, Matty.
So Taylor Swift fans, as we all know, are insane. They're insane. Not so sorry to put out such a statement.
I think
I grew up with Taylor Swift
fans,
so
and I love the Taylor Swift fans. I think they are fine, and I don't want them to post my address on the internet. I think they're great.
They're not listening to this. God, I mean, if they are, which of you are?
If they are,
whatever. I'll take the heat. My Twitter is @MobyandPrince. Send all your complaints to me.
Is a Swiftie who's listening to this, but no actual like Taylor Swift stan Swifties are listening to this.
Yeah. That's my opening statement. The record itself, Midnights. This is I mean, it's not terrible. Like it's not as like outwardly terrible as like something like Reputation. But it is it feels very mid for Taylor. Like it's it is a record that the purpose of this record is to reintroduce Taylor Swift, the pop star, is what this record's whole purpose is. And it is successful in that. Of course, Anti-Hero is a big hit right now. But Jewel is doing pretty well. But it's also, I want to say, the first Taylor Swift album that feels like it's too aware of TikTok. There are multiple moments on this record, lyrics where I'm like, okay, this is just way too aware of like, okay, this could be a TikTok sound.
It's trying to create.
I don't like
Carly moment, like the moment, like
that is
songs.
sad. It is like Carly, right? Like the loneliest time. That's an unintentional like. I didn't think this would be a TikTok. Okay, well it is. All right, sure.
That,
Taylor is very clearly intentionally trying to make TikTok moments, and for one of our biggest pop stars that generally didn't have to rely on shit like that, it does feel kind of sad that she's making that desperate
like,
play.
She is very much like someone in her 30s trying to appeal to a TikTok audience, and falling flat. Usually, like, there's no excuse for the cat eye sharp enough to kill a man line in 2020.
Vigilante shit is one of the worst songs.
People would have made fun of that in 2012. People would have made fun of that, like, at the Urban Outfitters, back when people were actually doing that, you know? Like, it's not a... I think with this record, without getting into... For full transparency, I literally had a, like, think piece about this album and just, like, how this week of music journalism made me feel like I was taking crazy pills. I just shelved that shit and just didn't publish it, and probably was like, you know what, that's fine. I don't need to enter that discourse Thunderdome, and I just like left it on the shelf. I will just say that I think there's this sort of knee-jerk defense as Taylor Swift, the songwriter, because of so many years of people not taking her seriously for sexist reasons, not taking her seriously for like all these other reasons, that they just sort of tried to form this like wall of protection against criticism of Taylor Swift as a songwriter. And I think that has been the worst thing to ever happen to Taylor Swift as a songwriter, because she has less checks and balances over her songwriting process than ever before, and she's had to listen to years of people like sycophantedly calling her like your Joni Mitchell, and so she's incapable of distinguishing her good songs from her bad songs. And that's not to me say that like she needs other people to make her a good songwriter. Like, she's a very good songwriter. I think she's correctly rated as a songwriter and overrated as a lyrics writer. In that, like, she can write a really good melody, and she's really good at giving people sort of accessible POV into her music, but I do not think that, especially like all of the weird like run-on sentence cadences that she sort of picked up as her career goes on, like it's just so like you don't have anyone in your life to tell you no. You don't have Jack Antonoff is not telling you no.
No, he's not.
Like yeah.
God.
Well, I will say this record is, I think, the most. I think Solar Power is probably more of a damning indictment on Jack Antonoff, the producer / collaborator. Yeah. This is a pretty close second. I would say.
Oh my! I mean, everyone's seen it at this point. We had a field day with it at that time. The guy going through clicking through Midnights and reacting every time. It's so fucking funny, but it's so true. Oh. We were just having this discourse today because of the Endless Scroll episode about it, but it's just it's like it's what Miranda said a couple weeks ago with like regarding TikTok lyrics and like people like, I'm forgetting her name right now.
Gail.
Not Gail. No, the one that had the other. I'm forgetting the name. I'm always so bad with this.
Is the
Victoria's Secret?
No.
Less cringy than that. More like sub Phoebe Bridgers. I'm trying to forget what her name is. No, the new one who just had a single like toward whatever. It was someone that had a single toward the end of last year that was like people were. She has like a name that's just like a name, like it's not an artist name, like it's just someone's like
Gracie Abrams.
Name. No, it's someone new. I'm just totally blanking on this, and you're making it worse for me.
There's so many fucking people now. Jesus Christ.
Point being is just that like the way Miranda put it is it's a difference between like writing lyrics that are like vaguely relatable versus writing lyrics that are like audio captions. Like it's so literal that it's like made with the idea in mind of the way that people use music on TikTok. It's like I need to like super literally super like hitting the nail on the head, like display my emotion via this song, which is a kind of sort of like confessional songwriting that I don't think Phoebe is guilty of. Like I think it's the people trying to sound like Phoebe more than it's her herself. Yeah. But I think that she's definitely like one of the people that has spearheaded that kind of sort of trend. And I think that's what the Taylor album is doing. Is it's like, it's not just like, oh, I need to have fun, catchy, relatable hooks. It's like, oh, I specifically need it to be like that. I'm the problem. It's me is like one of the more actually like whatever charismatic word, but it's like, you're so aware of how that can then be clipped out of context and used. It's like when Drake started making TikTok songs. It's like, you're the biggest artist in the world already. You don't have to stoop this low. Yeah. It's like how we used to live in a society where George Clooney would have to go to Japan to do commercials, and now not even the biggest people in the world are like below whatever the like most demeaning thing is.
Well, I'm gonna disagree with the Drake thing, because Drake is like, Drake has to be doing that stuff now because Drake stops doing it. He doesn't have like Taylor, but Taylor really does not have to do this shit. Like she really doesn't. But back to the record itself. My takes on it. Again, the thing is with this record is that it's sadly mid, because here's the thing, like Pop Taylor, when she's on one, she's really fucking on one. She's made some great pop songs over the years, and it doesn't really feel like there's any standouts here. But again, the purpose of the record is that, okay, I'm Taylor Swift and I'm about to go on my first tour in like 4 years. I need like a proper pop record to tour behind, and this is that.
She had to distract everyone from her private jet emissions.
Oh God, yeah. And then, of course, we mentioned that the Jack
has and will be the fucking biggest thing in the universe. Although good for her bringing like a couple of whatever, like some of the opening acts for that are like pretty cool.
Yeah. But the record itself,
or whatever her name is.
Biba Doobie.
Isn't she also on Matty Healy's label?
She's on Dirty Hit. Yeah.
She's the other big success of Dirty Hit, which is the other reason why I've been very vocal about the Lowerton record, is that like no one's talking about that album. I feel like a lot of people who would like it. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, but anyways.
I forgot that was a main topic thing.
Yeah. Anyways, I guess final thoughts on the record. It's just like, again, Pop Taylor can be really good, and I think it's time to stop working with Jack Antonoff. It like he brings out the worst in Taylor 100%. As a collaborator. I mean, fucking Reputation, that's a mostly Jack Antonoff joint, and it's dog shit. And one of the great things about Folklore.
Yeah, I understood how she got there, though, given like the arc of her career and where she was at, and like the albums, and like even Lover as a response to that. I guess this is going to turn a brief discussion on Jack Antonoff. This is my take that I've always had about Jack Antonoff. I know. Do we need another podcast like one of them? My take has always been is that Jack Antonoff
the reason why he sucks is the reason why artists love working with him, is that he's very much a yes man, that if you have a vision as an artist, sometimes it can be really good. He's gonna help you. He's gonna execute whatever your vision is. He's not gonna have so much say personally, like what he wants to do. It's like, hey, you want to do this? All right, I'm gonna help you achieve this. Sometimes it leads to greatness, like on Melodrama, it leads to some really great stuff. Some of the Taylor stuff from like 1989 and other records, it leads to greatness. Sometimes it leads to dog shit like Solar Power, where it's just like, you really need to step in and tell Ward, like, please, this is not the direction you should go in. Or like, also like a lot of Taylor Swift work where it's just like, why did you let Look What You Made Me Do happen? Why did he do Me? I think he helped make Me,
did.
right?
I mean, he had to be.
Why would you let any of this happen?
At least admire those for the hard swings that they took, because I think on this album there's none of that really. There's not.
There's no big swings. That's the swing.
The cringe and zero of the like actually going for it. You know, it's safe. It's safe.
Like, at least there was camp on Reputation.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, I also think that this is like, same as Solar Power, proving once again that sometimes girls shouldn't smoke weed.
Yes, 100%. Some people just cannot hang, and that's fine. Yeah.
Every song on this album sounds like a really good weed strain, but most of them are not.
All I'm going to say
songs.
is that a lot of people really showed their ass that they have never smoked weed in their goddamn life by the way that they talked about this Taylor Swift. Like, the way that people talk about this Taylor Swift album is like, boy, she was really rolling a fat doobie in the studio when she was making this one. It's like, wow, you are like a fucking hall monitor. But anyways,
Stop smoking that Jack Antonoff
Rob
pack.
Sheffield, we're coming after you.
No, yeah, Matt,
we're taking you down.
Without
we're taking you down. Finally,
it's like you need a strong vision to avoid Jack Antonoff midifying your music, which is why Lana is the best Jack Antonoff collaborator. It's like Jack couldn't influence her if he tried. She is so in her own universe. You know, it's just like, she knows exactly what she wants to do, and he just helps her do it. And that's the best way for Jack Antonoff to be, is not as involved in the process.
Exactly. But let's move on. I put down this new Arctic Monkeys record. Do any of us have takes on this album?
I have no thoughts on this album.
It's not good. I say this as someone who is like very into Arctic Monkeys during my like 2010s Tumblr days. And has since been like, oh, this is one of those things that I was really into in high school that mostly didn't hold up and has only gotten more and more boring.
Not true.
Okay. I like some of the old stuff.
The first album is so good. Sorry.
I think I miss when they were a garage rock band, but I don't think they'll ever be one again. It's just like, the Strokes aren't going to make Is This It ever again. And I didn't like the last Arctic Monkeys album either. I don't like Alex Turner stop doing the Lounge Wizard thing.
Again, Alex Turner, he wants to be Scott Walker so bad. And just has none of the fucking swag that Scott Walker had in the 60s. Like,
he doesn't, and it's like, I feel like it might be a little weird for me to put all three of these people in the same category, but I feel like him, Matty Healy, and Harry Styles are all kind of trying to emulate a type of rock star persona that just doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. No, you're on the ball.
And
here.
so much of it,
and none of them have the charisma for it.
So much of it is wrapped up in the way that journalists talk about them too, because that's so much of the Matty Healy thing. It's like, oh, we used to have rock stars like this, and we have one now, and it feels like them trying to like lean into that so much because they know they are one of the only bands, whatever. So they're like trying to do. But I liked their early stuff similar to you. It's like I was a person who went to Urban Outfitters, like I had a heart and ears, and I understand. We were all there, And by the time AM came out, that was just like the ship had sailed for me with that sort of like. Right around then was really when I started dipping off the sort of garage rock blues revival. Like the first concert I ever went to was the Black Eyed Keys. Not the Black Eyed Keys, Jesus Christ. The Black Keys.
Awesome super group.
will.i.am and fucking what's his name? Need a link
whatever.
No, but anyways, I was just like kind of done with that sort of like arena blues garage sound by the time the album came out, so that was never for me, but we talked a lot about it when it came out at the time on this podcast, weirdly, because like 2018 was like the tail end of our old format, and I remember I will forever respect that record, because I think that being the biggest band in the world and doing this like very straight ahead, accessible rock sound, and being like, we are gonna do like the least commercial possible follow up. Like I always was just like, this is genuinely weird and not like faux weird.
Yeah,
but I also never like went back to it. Like it was a very fun album to think about and not a fun album to listen to. And I think this album is both maybe a little bit less annoying to listen to, but much less fun to think about.
Yeah,
is basically my
that's
thoughts on
the perfect way to put it.
Yeah. Let's move on then. The new Sobs record, Air Guitar. I'll let some of y'all go more on this one, because I didn't have a whole lot of thoughts.
I know Grace loves this one.
Yeah, I really like this record. I feel like it, the title track was one of my favorite songs of this year. I think it's just like such a catchy, well-crafted pop song. And like, it's kind of holding me over until Charlie Bliss drops another album, which I'm almost certain they will this year.
This up. This is my whole thing with Sobs, is that I didn't like this record as much as I thought that I would. And I think part of that is that I'm not a Charlie Bliss person. And once people made that comp, I was like, oh, I get, because it's like, I love the Mama record. And also that's the other thing. There's been so much good dream pop this year that I think I had a really tough measuring stick for this album, because I was like, I'm already listening to Mama and Always all the time. Like to break that sort of rotation, it had a tough thing to get over, because those records are like really, really excellent. And I like it a lot. Like I love the Cool cover. I think that's amazing. And I think in general, it's like very solid, but it's like a little too sugar sweet. And sometimes like the vocals, like it's that Charlie Bliss thing where like I've seen Charlie Bliss live and really had a fun time. And I like Charlie Bliss a lot in concept, but I could never get into Guppy at the time, because it's just like, it's a little too, it's like eating too much sugar is what I feel like. And so
that's definitely
kind of my thing with Sobs. But
that's understandable. I feel like they're also, I don't know, it is very like Y2K throwback in a way that I get like why it would be off-putting to some listeners. But I feel like I feel like it hits this really nice sweet spot for me. I'm thinking about the Gwen Stefani cover. I feel like they're so suited to that, and like I feel like the more shimmery and like bubblegummy parts of it, really the parts where it kind of sounds like something off of the Josie and the Pussycats soundtrack, I think is like really in their wheelhouse. Or even the more electronic parts. Like I love that weird breakdown at the end of Friday Night. That like almost sounds, honestly, what it reminded me of more than anything was like parts of that Caro Bonito record.
That's a good comp.
The one with I'm totally blanking on the name right now, but the one with like Only Acting and
is it Time and Space or whatever?
All those.
Yeah, Time and Place.
Time and Space. Yes, that's the one. Time and Place. Yeah. I feel like there's moments where they get a little glitchy and electronic, and I would love to see them do more of that in the future.
I definitely like I didn't love it, but I was definitely like, I will check something out from this band again in the future. It was definitely cool and unique enough. Like you're saying with the Y2K, it's basically the Mama album, but Mama album is for people with 1995 nostalgia, and the Air Guitar album is for like 2002 nostalgia. It's just like shifted up a couple of years, and I'm more in I got really into Pavement this year, so I like the Mama album. That's basically the summation of it. But no, good, cool record. Top Shelf, great year. Speaking of which, let's keep that going. Another Top Shelf record. I'll do this one. Knife Play, Animal Drowning. I got to write about this band for Pitchfork for the track section for their song Promise, which is really, really good. And I love this band a lot. I got into this band heavily earlier this year when I was like sort of doing my big shoegaze dive and checking out a lot of bands, and I got really into their first record, Pearl Tea. Specifically, the very first song on that record, Tears, is just like a huge track. And even though that record like has a sort of lower quality recording style than this one, you could really see like where they were aiming for with that earlier stuff that they were able to fully realize on this new record, which is produced by Jeff Ziegler, who is most famous for doing The War on Drugs, but also Nothing, Philadelphia shoegaze icons. And there is that sort of like Nothing heaviness to it, but this is not like a straight ahead shoegaze band. Like they are much more in the sort of lush, sort of slowcore-y, I hate to bring him up because obvious reasons, but very Red House Painters-y is like a comp I've kind of thought with them. Oh, it's like that very sort of lush, folk, acoustic, kind of Mazzy Star vibe, but like infusing that with a 2010s shoegaze heaviness and dreariness and the world is fucked upness. And that combination is just like a slam dunk for me in every respect. I really love this record. I cooled on it like just the tiniest bit, and not even like cooled on it. It's more just like I listened to it a couple times in the advance, and it was really, 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 really good. And then it came out, and I listened to the Tagabo album a lot more because that was what I was in the mood for, particularly because it was still hot as fuck in Los Angeles. And this is a record you cannot listen to when it's hot outside. It doesn't work because this is like a very trudgy album in a good way. But like it was released at the perfect time of the year because most normal places in the country that have normal climates, like October 19th is when things start getting colder, and this is a fall ass album, like fall winter ass album. I really love it. I think it's very, very beautiful, but like it is long, and I have to be like in the mood to sort of dive into that headspace to want to throw it on. But when I'm in that mood, it does it pretty much better than anything else I've heard this year. I want especially a shout out Deserve, which I said on Twitter was my favorite song, and the guy from Knife Play agreed with me. It's his favorite song on the album. It's very good. It sounds like the main riff on Deserve gives me Cranberries vibes, is how I put it to people. It's just like so pretty and dreamy, and also, as several of my trans friends have said when they found this out, it's fucked up that he can sing like that. Like, cis men should not be allowed to sing like that. It's rude for him to have that voice, but you know what? Good for him, I guess.
It works really well with like the music, and it is like it's
the way they produce it. The way that they like produce it, and also sometimes will layer his voice with like another singer's voice occasionally. Like it is really, really, really pretty and works well with their sound.
Yeah, agreed. I love this album, and like agree with everything Jackie just said. That was like a pretty good like summation of everything. It's very Mazzy Star, but like it is just kind of like bleak and you do it's funny because I have had this one and Tagabo in like a big shoegaze playlist next to each other, and like they are kind of joined at the hip and like two sides of the same coin for me. But like
meme of the year, the Tagabo guy posting the this is Tagabo, we clown in this bitch, take your sensitive ass back to Knife Play.
He was right.
It's so true. It's like truly like Tagabo is like the Joker jester version of Knife Play, which is more like self-serious, but not self-serious in a bad way, just like more emotional and sincere and sort of
Knife Play's like Tagabo on Zoloft.
That's a good way of putting it. No, totally. But yeah, no, it is really, really. I mean, like Promise, the song I wrote about, takes its one lyric from The Sopranos. It's you're born in this shit and you are what you are. Like it's very. They made this album during the pandemic. You can tell it's a real bummer of a time, but also is not like quite so. I don't know. There is a sort of hopefulness to it at certain points. I really love Ryan's song. That was a song that I was kind of surprised. I didn't really get it as like a single, but then when I heard it in the context of the record, I was like, oh, this is really, really beautiful. I also really like Untitled, which is a great, a long song that they do towards the very.
Is that the closer? Or no, that's
the penultimate track.
Yeah,
Cold Rain's the closer.
Cold Rain. It's like 8 minutes. Yeah, I love when a band does like a good long track right at the end too. Totally, that's always, but great shoegaze.
Hell yeah. Great record. Shout out to the Knife Play boys. All right, let's get to enemy of the podcast, Matty Healy.
I'm ready.
Okay.
I don't have any thoughts
Taylor,
on this.
I'm gonna let you,
I gave a
had some
speech
thoughts
on Matty Healy last episode. I have no thoughts. I'm good.
I don't know everyone's takes on this band going into this, so I'm probably going to look like an ass. But okay, Matt, do you want to introduce the album? Do you want to say it out loud?
The new 1975 album, Being Funny in a Foreign Language. And Taylor, you're gunning. Again, I'll let you speak. I'll let you go off because I feel like we've talked about 1975 before.
Yeah, and like, well, I've never liked this band. I never had a Tumblr phase. I've like all of that shit passed me by. I never listened to Chocolate or any of that stuff. I really liked It's Not Living If It's Not With You. Like, I thought that song was great, but I've never been big on this band. I didn't expect to like this album. But I really like this album. I think that it is like, it's doing, its 80s kind of pastiche-y thing a lot, but I think that the first listen I was like, okay, it sounds like 1975. I listened to it a second time and like really dug it. I just think that it had a lot of great hooks and choruses and scratched some part of my brain. And this is like the closest Grace and I have maybe ever come to fighting is disagreeing about this album because I'm like, this is good. This is like Caroline. This is great. This is like it's a great
solidarity
pop song.
With Grace, but
I'm willing to be the odd man out. That's okay.
I don't hate this. I will say this is the least annoying the 1975 have been on an album, but then Matty Healy made up for that by publicly beefing with me. So that sort of cancels out my ability to sort of take this album seriously. But it's just actually, like, honestly, it's just like the thing with me with Matty Healy is I think that sometimes people fall right into his trap. Is that they sort of take him and be like, oh, you're not as clever as you think. I think Matty Healy is clever. I just don't think his cleverness is in service of music I have any interest in listening to. That's just like basically.
Yeah, well, he knows how to get people invested in whatever like stupid bullshit he's doing. And like he's an attention whore first and foremost.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter if that attention is good or bad.
100%. I said last week
he knows how to get it.
That, and I say this every time I talk about Matty Healy now, this is my olive branch to you, Matty Healy. You're not listening. Matty Healy and I are the same kind of annoying, is the way that I've put it to people. It's like, that's why we're oil and water, is because I look at Matty Healy and I go, God, you seem insufferable, and I could imagine people describing you the way that I could also describe myself, but I feel like I'm the less annoying version of that kind of insufferable person, and so it's a little narcissism of small differences thing going on. Like, when I read the Pitchfork profile, I was like, I don't know if I could handle spending a lot of time with Matty Healy, but also when, like, there's like the line about like him spouting entire paragraphs from his space and using fucking like every 3 words. And I'm like, God, that's kind of me. I do flap my arms like a Muppet. Like, so part of this is a little bit that, but also I just think that I've never thought that he was interesting enough either as a lyrics writer or more importantly, like musically. And I'm not someone who is like down on all 80s pastiche. Like, I think it got way overblown partly because of Jack Antonoff, who is on this record. But I don't think it's because I just like think it's bad. I think that it just needs to be done very well, and it requires an attention to detail that I think this record sounds very like nice and clean or whatever.
Yeah,
but it doesn't really I don't know, his song I will say I actually liked About You. I thought that was a pretty good song. And I think in general there are like there's less like he made up for all of the lack of annoyingness on the actual record with everything he's doing in the live show,
for sure basically. Yeah, and like that's
insufferable, which is probably the way. I mean, I have way less interest in this sort of project after Kanye West killed this in me. Like, I am no longer able to appreciate someone making a big, silly spectacle of celebrity in this sort of way. And I wish the man the best, I suppose, but like, I have no interest in trying to get myself to like them anymore.
Me neither.
Yeah, you can fuck off, but whatever.
I don't. Yeah. He is so overexposed to me. Like, I feel like every time I see him, it is against my will. The algorithms have just like decided on behalf of me that I just want to see Matty Healy like
you get the same
eating
TikToks that I do
and humping couches everywhere all the time. when
You
that's
also have the
exactly
same
what
TikTok
I don't
algorithm
want.
as me, I assume, where we
I'm
get a bunch of
hate on
1975
it, 'cause
TikToks.
it feeds you things that it hates in the same way it feeds you things that you like because you respond to it, which is why I am trying not to allow Matty Healy to suck my energy. It's mine. I am not going to waste precious hours of my day thinking about and being mad about your music. I'm just going to go move on with my day. That's how I feel.
Yeah, which is why I feel like it's this evil cycle of like, I see him do some fuck shit and then I get annoyed and I'm like, oh, this is what he wants. Damn you, Matty Healy. And then the vicious cycle just continues and continues.
But I want to focus on the record itself because I tried to re-listen to this one today and I had to like tap out halfway through.
No.
And it's not this record is like it's the thing is this record is that it is the most boring 1975 album. Which to call the 1975 a boring band, that I shouldn't be uttering those words. That should not be a sentence that exists, but it does exist for me. And I think the Indieheads Album of the Year write up on this record, I think really clicked why. For a write-up that was supposed to convince me why this record was good, it convinced me, oh, this is why I don't actually like this album, is that the thing with the 1975 is that up until this record, or really especially their last like 3 records, but especially like Online Relationships and the one with a super long creepy title, 1975 albums have always been defined by the concept of the bloat. Their albums are always way too fucking long, too many goddamn songs, but because of that, they use the bloat as the source of their ideas. Is that through the bloat you get stuff like two time, give yourself a try. You get great songs out of the bloat. You have to suffer through the bloat to get to the really great stuff. And this record gets rid of the bloat as a concept. It's a very streamlined, it's a traditional like rock record in terms of length, like it's like 45 44 minutes long, 12 songs. Like it is 1975 trying to be a respectable rock or like respectable pop rock band, and I don't want that. I don't want that. I want the big swings. And I feel like this record just doesn't take enough big swings for me.
Like a lot of the extraneous Matty Healy bullshit, they're not musically interesting enough to sand the edges off of them. Like it is their least annoying record, but annoying is all Matty Healy has going for him. Like if it's just gonna be sort of down the middle 80s synth pop, there's like better people doing 80s synth pop.
Yeah, it's like anyone can make a record that sounds like what you hear in an H&M dressing room. Yes. And like that's all there is here to me. And I mean, I feel like he still finds a way to annoy me on this record.
Because here's the thing, is that this record it is very boring, and then he will say a line that that piques my attention, and it's the worst lyrics you've ever heard. It's like, Jesus. It's like, God damn it, Matty Healy.
Lin-Manuel Miranda of indie rock.
Yes, exactly. And also we mentioned Jack Antonoff. He helped co-produce this record, and I really do think that, for better or worse, he's kind of sanded off the edges of this band. He's made them a much more respectable act to people that have been maybe more 1975.
I was fascinated by the story, the Pitchfork story, and how it describes basically that he was originally going to work with BJ Burden on this record. It was that's right. It was going to be a full-on BJ Burden, Bon Iver, Low style reinvention of the band, but the problem would have been more interesting. But BJ Burden, he basically said that like they came into the studio and BJ was like, okay, how are we going to go about writing this, whatever? And he said that the thing that like the where they butted heads was that the 1975 loved to reference things in the studio. The 1975, and when you hear this, all of a sudden, a lot about them makes sense. They will pull up a song on Spotify and be like, we want to make something that sounds like this. And BJ Burden was like, this is so alien to me. Right. I don't make music like this. I don't know if I can really adhere to, like, he wanted to create sort of an enclosed environment, and they were wanting to bring in all of these, like, oh, what if we did something like this, but then something like this? And so it's so funny to me, like, to think about how pliable their music could be, such that they went into an album expecting it to be a BJ Burden produced record and came out with a Jack Antonoff produced record, which is basically the opposite. Okay, you couldn't get two more dramatically different people to work on a record, and the fact you're just like, okay, if we can't get that guy, we'll get this guy. Like, what?
I mean, that confirms my fucking theory about Jack Antonoff, is that again, they went to a producer. We're like,
Who
we
would
want to
say
do
yes
this.
to
And
them
like,
and make it
it's like,
sound
no,
good?
this is stupid. Don't do this. They go to Gigantoff. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll do this because you guys want to do this. He is the penultimate yes man of pop music right now. And sometimes it does lead to stuff like Lana, where Lana as an artist has mostly good ideas, or you get someone like Taylor whose good ideas really vary sometimes.
Yes.
Or 75, where it's just like, again, I really did enjoy a lot of stuff that's on online relationships. I really felt like that was just like, okay, like felt a solid mix of the bloat stuff and just the really strong, unique ideas. This is like, you know what? This is a record where I get why this turns people around on this band, because that's what they were trying to do on this album. But
I mean,
Matty Healy, I'm watching you. I'm not falling for this bullshit.
All right, enough.
I like the weird stuff.
Right.
That's what I want. Go crazy ass white boy. Don't do this.
We need to move on. Let's talk about something very
let's move on. All right, that is the end of part 1 of this episode. We recorded this all in like one long marathon session, intending this to be one episode, but we ended up going over 3 hours, so we're just making it 2 parts. So part 2 of this episode will be coming out on Wednesday for our Patreon supporters and on Friday for everybody else. So we got more records to talk about on the way for that part 2 episode. So yeah, tune in on Wednesday and or Friday for part 2 of our Q4 2022 roundup. See y'all very, very soon.